coming back, everybody. Checking out the 6th episode of On the Bench. We have a very special episode today. You see this guitar has been basically destroyed. It was in a bike wreck. There's a local gentleman downtown who busks for money. He doesn't really have much in the way of worldly possessions or money, and this guitar is kind of very important to him. So I told him I would take a whack at trying to fix it. It's named Nancy. See the damage on the headstock and to the body. The neck snapped off. It actually broke the heel in 2 different places. It cracked off in one main section, and right here I'm trying to use my heat gun to get rid of the other section to pop it out. Takes a while, but the heat gun definitely helps. And when you finally get it out, I realized it was cracked down the center as well. You can see that crack there. It extends to the side. It doesn't go all the way through, but it's definitely something we'll have to glue up. We'll have to scrape all that nastiness off too. Okay, so I am using a razor blade here. By the way, these are Stanley Fat Max razor blades. They are the best razor blades for working on guitars. They're awesome. Just getting rid of the loose fibers. And here I'm using a little bit of water on the crack. The water will, through capillary action, be pulled into the wood. And I want to thank Rosa String Works for bringing that term to my attention. Capillary action. I like that. Now I'm thinning out some of the glue, the water, so that, you know, just like the water, it will be sucked down in there into that crack. See how thin the glue is, and I get progressively thicker and do a couple more passes and build it up to the edge. And it helps to have the 11-year-old bring you some paper towels. Okay, here I'm just doing the broken part on that's still attached to the neck of the heel here. And here I'm putting some glue on the other side of the heel that we've already got some glue in. I won't glue it all together as one piece again like it was meant to be. Here I'm fitting everything back into place. It fit pretty well. The cracks were still pretty hardcore, but once everything clamped down, it held pretty well. It didn't lose a lot of material. Very weird way to make it clamp properly, but it worked. And I went around and added more glue in areas I thought needed it. Pretty hardcore break. Okay, I'm doing this build for free just to help him out. You know, normally you'd have to recut this piece of wood and make everything fit perfectly, but he desperately needs this guitar back, so I'm trying to get this done in about a week. So things like this we're just gonna have to kind of skimp on. So I'm twisting it to hold it in place while the glue dries. So it won't ever be perfect, but it'll be stable. That's what we're looking for. Alright, look how bad this broke. Just ripped off the top of the soundboard. So I got glue all under that. Under there. And here I am putting some under the part that lifted off the brace. Right there. You see the hole in that brace so that you can get to the truss rod. And I'm clamping down these parts. So this will all dry while the neck heel is being glued back together. So we're not going to glue it into the body just yet. Alright, so it's been a day. The heel's dried together pretty well. It feels strong. Now let's take a look at this back of the guitar. So he was riding his bike and he said he flipped over his handlebars. The guitar was on his back. And yeah, it just got road rash like crazy. Looks like a wild badger had a big fight on the back of it with Wolverine, perhaps. So the first thing we're going to do is mask off the front of the guitar. You know, he's got a sticker on there. I didn't want to remove that, and so I wanted to keep it, you know, it's his baby, it's his custom Squire, so. Alright, everything taped off, trim the edges of the razor blade. Here we are, sanding it down. You can really see those scratches now, how deep they are. We're going to fill them with some Bondo. And this is just automotive Bondo. It's the best there is for this purpose, really. A little bit of hardener, and then I'm going to mix it up really fast. I've been eating Wheaties lately. Do kids get the Wheaties joke anymore? You guys get that joke? I don't know. You want to mix until the red's gone and it's a pink color. So right now I'm filling that giant gnarly gash on the top of the headstock. You want to try to scrape off the excess because it does get pretty hard. It's not fun to try to sand away large mounds of this stuff. You want to get it as flat as possible. I'm putting some over the crack in the heel. And of course, the body, which is where the most gnarly stuff was. When I'm working on instruments, I only like to mix up a little bit of Bondo at a time, so I went back and, for all these patches that were going to require a little bit more attention, I would mix up a new batch so that it didn't harden too fast on me. Last thing you want is try to have it be all gritty while you're trying to get it in the patch. And of course, we sand it down, so I did the same thing, sanded down the body. Hey look, there's a wild drummer and a wild bass player. Okay, this is just primer, so I'm putting it on thick and not really using super awesome paint strokes, but that's the first coat of primer. I did 2 coats on this one. And I used a little bit of glazing putty to touch up the top of the Bondo on the headstock because it had not filled the gap completely. So here we are on the neck joint, and we're going to clean that out. Before I do the next coat of primer and the coat of paint, I'm going to attach the neck to the body so that the primer and paint will help hide that seam. And here, just using a chisel and a razor blade and anything you can just to get that glue out, all that messy old stuff so we can put new stuff in there. Alright, clamped as hell. It always pays to have a whole bunch of clamps. Not like the tiny ones. They're damn useful. Okay, here I am flattening the paint. I don't think I got any footage of the actual paint. Oh, no. I'm sorry, this is flattening the primer. What I forgot to get footage of was clearing it. I cleared this in my shed, always wear a respirator. That's not cleared yet. During this blackout part, just imagine me clearing it because I totally forgot, and I apologize for not filming that. But you get the idea. Use the 2-part 2K clear. And this is me flattening it. Used 1,000 grit and 1,500, then 2,000, then 2,500, then 3,000, and then once I felt that it had leveled out as good as it was going to without burning through, it was time to use a medium cutting compound and get my buff on. There's a ton of good videos on YouTube about buffing, so this is just the compound. I'm spreading it on the pad, and I have sprayed some water down to keep it lubricated because you want to keep the pad moving. You don't want to stay in one area too long because you don't want to burn through your finish. Trust me, that's the worst thing that can happen. So this is the neck after the medium compound. Wiping it off. I'm going to buff the whole thing again with a finer compound to make it shiny. But I didn't think we needed to see all that mess. Here, slow motion. See how shiny it is? That was the only shot I had, so I slowed it down. Okay, so now I'm buffing his frets just a little bit. They were a little bit grody. Again, doing this for free and trying to do it quickly so I didn't spend all day polishing them. You've seen me do this before. I'm reaming out the holes, little in on the headstock for Nancy since the Squire logo had to come off to do the refinish. Just drilling the little tiny screw holes for the new tuners, which are much better Grover style tuners. The little white stickers, this is just protection of the tuners, they come off. Gluing the nut back down, just a little bit of super glue in the middle, so that way the next guy can pop it off easier if he has to. You don't need to use a lot of glue to hold a nut to a guitar. The strings do that. I'm touching up the fretboard with a little bit of ebony stain. Even though this is not an ebony fretboard, I'm not sure what it is. It didn't take the stain very well. I'm not sure that it's wood. Did the same thing on the bridge. I also had to add some shims under the actual saddle there. It was a little low. And I got some new ebony pins just to make it look a little better. And there you've got little abalone inserts in them. I forgot I wanted to put side dots in, so I'm drilling holes for side dots because I had to paint over the side dots whenever I refinished it. I didn't have any side dot material though. What I do have is glow powder. So a little bit of glow powder. I cut a straw, fit in the bag, and pick a little tiny bit up. And using a toothpick, I just knock it down into the hole. So I'm going to pack that full and try to get it as clean as possible. See? Using a guitar string, you can take just a tiny drop of super glue, put it right there where I need it, and you see it kind of bubble. That's reacting with the powder and going off. It sets super quick on a fine material like that. Okay, moment of truth, people. Let's see if this will hold tension. Honestly, it was scary. Also, putting a little Richards Guitar Restoration sticker up behind the second brace. You can't see it if you look in the sound hole. If you look up in there, you'll see it. It's not perfect, but I think it'll last a long time. Thanks for watching, everybody. You know I always appreciate it.